The birther hilarity gets more hilarious still. That fake Kenyan birth certificate, it was made out of a real Australian birth certificate.
Come and say good day. I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. You're now an Aussie. As 44 turns 48, a birthday present from the birthers, that forged Kenyan birth certificate produced over the weekend was created from a real birth certificate, but not one from Africa. It comes from a land down under. Our number one story, this just in, the President of the United States is actually a 50-year-old Australian man named David Jeffrey Bomford. Or it's the other way around. As we reported, a few details of Russian emigre dentist turned correspondence school lawyer Orly Taint's forged Kenyan masterpiece. They're off a little bit. The Washington Independent now examining the similarities between the fake document and an actual Australian birth certificate from 1959. It appears that somebody did a little copy and paste work with the birth certificate of David Jeffrey Bomford of Adelaide. Not only identical in design and layout, but similar in key details. The registrar on the Australian document is G.F. Lavender. On the forged document, it's E.F. Lavender, a type of detergent and a type of specially bred gecko. Seriously. The district registrar on the Australian document is J.H. Miller. On the one brought to us by Miss Taint, M.H. Miller. So either a bunch of mid-century birth officials from two different parts of the world all shared similar names, or the forger's attention to detail stopped at the artificial aging of the paper part. As for the actual man whose birth certificate is helping fuel the birthers,
that is ridiculous. Little old person in Adelaide, the President of the United States. I don't know whether to laugh about it or not. Be worried about it.
Oh, be worried about it. Earlier this afternoon, the jolly swagman president dined with the Senate Dems, Blue Dogs and all, and then stopped by the White House press briefing room, surprising fellow birthday girl and veteran White House reporter Helen Thomas with cupcakes. Meanwhile, Secretary Clinton, on an ironically timed, albeit pre-planned trip to Kenya today, Orly Taint seems to think she was there to inspect birth certificates, denying that her forged Obama document is a fake. Miss Taint claiming on her blog, if Kenyan BC birth certificate that I provided would not be genuine, Hillary would not be rushing to Kenya, would she? And by that logic, if it wasn't a fraud, wouldn't the world have come to an end this morning to prevent everybody in two hemispheres from laughing hysterically at your incompetence, Miss Taint? Joining me now, comedian Paul F. Tompkins. Paul, good evening.
Good evening, Keith. If I'm not much mistaken, I believe Orly's last name is Taitz.
What have I been saying?
I'd rather not say what you've been saying.
Taint. Well, what's the difference?
Fair enough.
The president is now Australian, or this man Bomford is actually our president. What does this mean in terms of the vice presidency? Is Biden out and Hugh Jackman is in?
Yeah, he's taking the Amtrak from Perth. What I don't understand about this is, the thing that infuriates me the most is, why didn't these goofballs use a Kenyan birth certificate as the template? This is what drives me nuts more than anything. Why Australia? Do they think Australia is a country in Africa? I don't understand why this was. Some cursory internet research really would have helped them out. Well, maybe they actually could have looked up Obama's birth certificate in the first place, and that would have stopped the whole thing there.
No, probably not. But what do they do now? I mean, do they get T-shirts that claim the dingo ate my birth certificate, or where do they go for this monstrosity?
They will probably just know that as a Seinfeld reference anyway. But I think the next T-shirt that the birthers are probably going to be forced to come out with is, "Can't you see he's colored?"
No, let's cut right to the chase. Yeah. Exactly. Just because whatever the large percentage of these are actually white supremacists.
Yeah.
The other interesting note about this, I mentioned Louis Armstrong has gotten eclipsed in this August 4th birthday thing, but Helen Thomas is 89 today. She's been a fixture at the White House for many years. How come nobody's gone to her and said, let's see your documents?
Keith, that's a very nice try to trick me into making the Helen Thomas age joke, but like Lorraine Bracco in Goodfellas, I will not go into that room and pick out a suit. I tell you, the journalist whose documents I'd like to see is Lou Dobbs, just so I can say that I still haven't seen them, even after he's shown them to me, and hopefully the last shred of his sanity will go and he will build a wall around himself.
Well, they didn't have them then because writing had not yet been invented. On this, back to this birther issue, I mean, we're going to see a split among these people eventually, those that believe that Obama is from another country and the other ones who believe Orly Taitz, that Orly Taitz is from another planet.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Orly Taitz soon advised us that the proof of Obama's birth is hiding behind a comet, and we all need to go buy black Nikes.
It's very good. Good 90s cultural reference, Paul. We remember the Al Smith dinner last year, the one in which Mr. McCain had such serious fun at my expense, but the president, then the candidate Obama, had noted that he was from the planet Krypton. Mm-hmm. Now, does this complicate the business of being a birther at this point? Because the Constitution does not explicitly discuss what happens if the president is born in a different galaxy.
Yes, but that is by design, Keith. You see, the framers, in their infinite wisdom, knew that if a higher intelligence ever visited our planet, we would be vaporized instantly.
They would see us and go, all right, what else is in this neighborhood? Because we're not staying here.
Yeah, could you blame them?
We know that Orly Taitz is here. We're not sticking around. Paul F. Tompkins, as always, a pleasure to talk to you, Paul.
Good to be back,
and
Keith.
Thanks for the correction. I appreciate
My
that.
pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith. My question to you about Taitz versus Taint is how can we ever really know which it is? I mean, what counts as an original document here?
Well, I have her birth certificate right there. See? It says Taint. Oh, it says, it's spelled wrong. I'm sorry. Never, I got you a new one. Wait a minute. I have it. Wait, there it is. Here. Don't. See? It says Taitz. That must be your document.
I'll come over and certify that later.
Is this your document?
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it.